Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Tips 48. Today, I'm joined by one of my colleagues. Jacob is joining us. Jacob is the technical evangelist for efficiency and value. And Jacob has a long history being a sysadmin and basically using Lansweeper in multiple companies. Jacob, welcome.
Thank you, Espen. Good to be here virtually.
Yeah. And today we're going to, or basically, well, I'm not we're, but really Jacob is going to talk more about the importance of asset classification. Now, Lansweeper does already do basic asset classification. As you might know, when Lansweeper scans devices, it will, based on what ports are open, etc., and what kind of data it picks up, it will already subdivide it or classify it based on kind of what OS it has or what manufacturer model it can see, things like that. But that's really just kind of the basic asset classification. You can go a lot deeper with that, and it can help a lot in your asset management to go a lot deeper than just having the basic classification. Jacob, maybe you can start off by kind of explaining why this extra level of asset classification is so important in your experience.
Sure. So basically, in my past lives, I have been a generalist, IT journalist, a sysadmin, as we like to call it. And I have gone in many places and discovered assets, and Lansweeper does an excellent job in discovering all the devices that are online, what they are, like has been said. However, we don't really know sometimes why they're there, who put them there, and their purpose, their general purpose for being there. And in this, what I wrote in my pro tip blog is you end up having to use the spreadsheets. And you say, well, Lansweeper gets rid of these spreadsheets, and it certainly does. However, it's very important in my experience to go through the notes, to do due diligence, to get the proper background information or descriptions, the whys and of each asset that you want to track or that is critical enough to know that information, such as infrastructure. So one of the first things I do after discovering all the assets is I find a couple of different fields of information. And for this demonstration, I'm going to show you the environment, such as for infrastructure, you have production, test, QA, development, and also the basic application or function of the asset, such as a Lansweeper server, such as a SQL database server, such as a medical PACS server, and as well as who owns the server, who owns that server or application, your contact information should you need it. This information, a lot of times, engineers will not go through this extra step to gather this information, and it makes life a whole lot easier to not only for your job, knowing exactly, not just where everything is and what everything is, but specifically what its function is, who owns it, and what environment it's in. So that's what I'm just going to go over today. Is just a few fields of information, and it sounds simple, and it is, but it will totally make your life and all the other users and applications owners their work a lot easier.
And you're going to do that, or you've done it in the past using the custom fields in Lansweeper, correct?
Correct. Yes, custom fields on premise comes with the whole set of custom fields, as well as the cloud version has custom fields as well.
I think on-prem we're limited to 20, if I remember correctly, custom fields.
Yes.
In cloud, that's unlimited as far as I know. I think there's a there's a limit, but we say unlimited. If
Technical
somebody out
limit
there,
of yes, technical limit of 60, I believe, but
oh, that could be.
there's plenty.
Okay. Well, if somebody out there that's watching wants to try it out, then let me know. You can go ahead. I'd be curious how they fill up 60 custom fields, but maybe. So, why don't you jump into kind of your installations that you have and show how you've, or one, which fields that you usually create when you create custom fields to do the classification, and then kind of how you use them as well.
Sure. So custom fields are my favorite thing, first off, and I use it for a variety of things, such as, in addition to these few that I just mentioned, um, if it's being backed up or not, if it's seen in another system or not, just compliance checks and dates that it was last seen. But that's a little more complicated, but I will show you in my little demo installation here. If you go to asset pages, configuration asset pages on the on-prem, and you will see down here in the asset custom fields for this demonstration, the most widely used I do is environment, which is production, staging, test, QA. Application, and this is for the servers, um, uh, which is a text box where you can type in, this is a backup server, etc. The family I use sometimes. Sometimes you have what I call an application stack, which is, say, for a Veeam backup application. There's other components. There's a front end web component. There's a backup and replication console. So there'll be multiple servers with the application
Yeah,
family
and you can have the
of,
same thing
of
with
Veeam.
Lansweeper, right? You can have
Yeah,
you can have your web console installed on a different server. You can have multiple scanning servers. If you have a large environment, you'll have multiple scanning servers that pull in data. So you can use that application family, just tag it as Lansweeper, and that way you can easily get a list of all the machines, all the servers basically where that have a component of Lansweeper running on it.
absolutely. Yes, that's a good point. Yes. And application owner. So if it were the Lansweeper stack, like you just mentioned, it would be Esben or his his group, his engineering group would be the owner, so you would know who to contact. And in this case, I find it very important to go through what is being monitored and what is not being monitored in the case of Windows servers or critical infrastructure or anything you want to monitor. So I added this one as the fifth custom. It's very easy to click in here and name your custom field and choose the type of custom field, such as if you want a drop down, like for environment, if you want a date or a text area, um, or a yes and no, which I just saw actually could be very useful. So right there is where you set the custom fields. Now, what I wanted to show you is we will pull up a general Windows Server report with those fields. And in those fields, or to report on those fields, it's very simple. They're in the table asset custom table, and they're custom 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the ones that
Yeah,
I'm
it's
using.
just you just don't have to remember which number of the custom field that you've used or that you've configured. That's
Yes,
the only kind of downside of it. But as long as you kind of match that, then you
yes,
should be fine.
yes. I usually use a little tab, open up another tab, and have that page for reference. And I put the which one it is here. So one is environment, and label it there. So that gives us the columns or fields, and you can see here I don't have anything in, except for I put in an SCCM primary server for the application here. So one of the neat things here is we'll just go use the mass edit. So right here, to get the Windows servers, I will just put Win2 for the operating system. There's my servers. I will select all of them except for, oh gee, I don't know these yet. I don't know these 4. I don't know what they are. But I do know that these other ones, and I'll get a mass edit right here. I do know that the environment is production. And how do I know that? Well, either I know the environment myself, or it could be based on a subnet IP location, a naming convention. So you could filter right here if you have a prod in the name or something like that, or the spreadsheets that you have from another engineer or your team or whatever. So I now just edited those. So we will go back. And it should be right there. So I now have the majority of them marked as production, and you can go in and you can see custom fields, environment, production. You can also do this in the cloud by going to inventory, manage custom fields.
One thing there to note is that you will have to do one or the other, or you could do both. But the custom fields are not synced at the moment. So if you have a hybrid setup and you're using both the on-premise interface and the cloud interface, you'll have to choose which one you actually do this, because those custom fields are not synced. So if you do it on-prem and then you want to report on it in cloud, then it won't work. So it kind of depends on your use case. I'd say if you have a simpler environment that's just one Lansweeper installation, then you can do on-prem perfectly fine. If you are more in a use case where you have multiple Lansweeper installations, maybe you have a large company that has multiple Lansweeper installations distributed across different continents or something like that, and you're unifying those in a cloud site. So if you have multiple installations put into a single site, then it would make more sense to do it in cloud, so that you only have to do it once and you can report across multiple installations in cloud.
Absolutely. So in this case, in order to do a bulk edit, it's actually pretty easy. You can make different views. So you can go in and you can filter where OS contains Win2. And there is the same, and you can uncheck a few because we don't know in this example, and there's a bulk edit button right here, and you can say, and it tells you right here the custom fields, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and they're actually named after what you entered. They're not custom 1, 2, 3, 4. So that also helps.
Definitely. So we're going to set the environment, and I had a drop down when I set up the field. So there's my choices, production, save, and apply. That will take just a moment to apply to the different assets. But after that is done, we are good. So that is also how and then if you go to one of the assets, Your custom field information is down here. Scroll down just a tad to custom fields, environment, production.
Yeah, and one thing, I think one important thing to note as well for your site is that you cannot report on the custom fields, at least as of this recording. So you'll have to use custom views to actually get a list of all the devices that have a specific value in a custom field. So maybe you can quickly show off how to get to kind of the custom. Well, you already started the first few steps in a custom view, but let's take a look if we can get that step further and just show assets with a specific custom field.
Absolutely. So we're going to, here's the all assets, and we will go to the, well, first, let's go to customize the view. And I want to get those custom fields like I showed you on-prem with that report. So we're going to pick the custom fields down here for our selectable available columns. And I'm going to move it up. Environment, application. You can move the other ones, but for the sake of time, we're going to apply. There's our two columns right here. And now there's an advanced filter view where you can put in your criteria. And again, OS. There's plenty of ways to pick a Windows server, but this is just, oops, okay. Contains Windows 2. And we're going to add a criteria here where your custom field for environment is populated. And there are the servers that I know the environment for. And some of these I put lab, but there's my production. And you can save the view right here and save the view and name it whatever you want right here.
Similar to once you've saved it, custom views are available for things like the numbers widget in the dashboard. So if you want to know how many assets are in a specific view, let's say you create one where you say the environment does not exist, then you can put that view in a numbers widget on your dashboard, and that will always give you a count of how many servers, in this case, do not have an environment. Now, in our case, Jacob, all of your servers do have an environment, so that would be a 0. But if you want to find out, also when you start scanning and new servers come in, they might not have a value. So adding that to a dashboard would be pretty useful as well. I don't know if do you have examples either on-prem or in cloud?
Yes. So I made a little custom dashboard by creating a new board. It's very simple, but you simply just, like you said, add a numbers widget. And it was custom. And here's where I selected my views that I made. And they are right here. So I'm going to get out of edit mode. And you will have your standard servers within info, which is just a view of the server with all the fields. And that one hasn't updated with the 2 I added. And there's no application defined. So if you find an application, you can do it in multiple ways. You can go in and edit the actual asset, I like pretty easy. Just go into the edit mode, bulk edit for a single, and I say this application is a test application name.
Yeah, and for applications, it's pretty simple to find like what, since Lansweeper scans all the software, even scans services, things like that. Like if you want to quickly get a list of servers that are running specific servers or specific software, and then assign the application custom field to that software name. It's pretty easy to, we have the software views that you can use. We have, standard built-in software reports that you can use to find lists of assets that have a specific software installed on it. So in that way, those are all things that you can use to quite easily start getting a list of specific devices that you want to tag with a custom field for application or application family, things like that.
Yes. So in this case, the lab does not have custom specific applications to show, but just like you say, I will pull up the all server installed or all software installed on Windows Server report by modifying your all software and just put where's the server and filter that and just do a quick look on what's there. And if there's PRTG, then I know that that is a PRTG server, for example, or Veeam or Lansweeper. Then you could view that, go through there, and you can determine without looking at spreadsheets or talking to somebody if they don't know. You can determine the primary function of the server. So for on-prem, you can report on these. I made a test tab here, and in this particular case, I used the PRTG, whether it is monitored or not, and I made a chart report and also just a report and put it on an alert dashboard report where, hey, I colored them in red. This is bad. They're production and they're not monitored. Now you can go in just to show you. We will edit one of these and we will say monitored is yes. And then right there, you can see your compliance. There's 1 monitored and 22 production servers not monitored.
And we'll have all of those, the reports for the on-prem one will be in the written version as well. So if you want to grab the on-prem versions of it, you'll just have to slightly customize it depending on what obviously the name of your custom field is and things like that. But with just the minor tweaks of adjusting the name and stuff, you'll be able to grab the reports and just throw them into your own on-premise installation if you're using the on-prem interface.
Yes, and likewise, like we mentioned and you mentioned earlier, you can say here's 3 that do not have an environment defined. So once you define everything as far as the environment, hey, this is production. When another server is discovered or deployed, and an engineer, maybe it's you or myself, did not properly come in and classify this server, it will show up right here, and you can color it red if you want to. I usually don't because it's not super critical, but I do put it here and say, hey, there's 3 servers here. We haven't defined the environment, and it's very important when you're, to know what's production, what you can patch during the day and restart, what's critical and shouldn't go down, etc.
Yeah, and I think that kind of that kind of puts the finger on kind of why you want to do this, is to really know things like, can you patch it? especially when with kind of the new risk insights that we have in sites. If there is a device that you're looking at that it has a vulnerability on it, the criticality of that vulnerability in your organization will most likely depend on whether that server or that device is in production or not, what kind of environment it's in, what kind of applications is it running. If a Windows server has a vulnerability for just saying something randomly SharePoint, but it's not running SharePoint, it doesn't have SharePoint on it, it's not really that severe since you're not using that application. But on the other hand, if it does, then obviously it's critical to patch it as soon as possible. And I think that kind of points towards the reason as to why you really want to do this, is to have that extra visibility on what kind of device is it, like what environment is it in, who owns it is also an important one, so that if you do need to do something to it, or something needs to happen, you can contact that person easily. Things like that. I don't know if there's other things that I'm missing, Jacob, that you would say, like, why is it critical to start doing this?
Sure. You hit on most of them. Another one is a lot of people, myself, and um, a, a lot of businesses integrate this with ITSM, service management, or CMDB. And when you properly classify, I like to classify in Lansweeper and then have Lansweeper update the CMDB or the ITSM as appropriate. So if I know that I know that these servers are production, then I know that they get I know they get priority if there's a incident and something goes down or PRTG alerts. And guess what? Everything's monitored in PRTG this production because I classified them and I know what is and is not monitored in PRTG. So we're going to pretend that this says 100% PRTG. So we're going to get our alerts and we'll be able to properly route priority of alerts. We'll have our app owners or contact owners that should be notified, and support in operations center will know, hey, this is production. Here's the contact information, and basically it helps in all the way around. If you have an incident or need an investigation or to see what's changed, you can also compare against the same application in a different environment. The use
Yeah,
cases
it's one of
go
those
on and
things
on.
where, like, it doesn't really matter, or doesn't really matter a whole lot what your specific niche use case is, or what you're focused on within Lansweeper. As long if you have this classification, it's very likely that it will help you, regardless of kind of what you're trying to do, or what you're currently working on, basically.
Yes. So basically, with this little demonstration of four columns or fields of information, you have streamlined. You can make sure that the production machines are backed up. You can make sure they're monitored. Um, uh, you can tell the application owners, hey, here's your production stuff, because a lot of times they might not know their server information, and you have officially, in just a little bit of time it takes to do this, you have officially become an IT hero, sysadmin hero, like we always like to say, and just totally change the efficiency and productivity and um, of your server environment.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. I think that's a great note to end on. I think we kind of wrapped that up nicely in the end there. So I want to thank everyone that's tuned in for watching. Jacob, thank you for kind of doing the presentation, creating everything, because this is I'm just here kind of to help or guide Jacob through it, but this is all his work. So thank you very much for kind of explaining all of it and putting it up. And to the rest that's still watching, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.